All right, councillors, we reconvene at 10:40 and we will return to agenda item 363, and we've now tabled Director of Works report, and I will draw councillors' attention to a matter that the Director wishes to discuss, which in the opinion of the Mayor affects a already declared prescribed conflict of interest for councillors with close associates, and that being councillors Arthur and Plum. Would you like to make a declaration in that respect?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I would like to inform the meeting that I have a prescribed conflict of, or a standing prescribed conflict of interest with 3.6.3, the Director of Works report, and I will be leaving the meeting while it's discussed.
Okay, and Councillor Plum?
Yes, I'm the same. I'd like to inform the meeting that I have prescribed conflict of interest in 3.6.3, the Director's report, and due to my close associate, family, contractors, and I will be in this decision.
Councillors, what I'll do in that respect, even though one's already left, is we will just discuss that matter with which you have the prescribed conflict of interest first in closed session. Then we will reopen the meeting, and for the matters that you don't have a conflict of interest, we'll invite you back in. Thank you. Councillor Peoples is, for the record, also not present in the chamber electronically at this point, so I still do maintain a quorum at this point. Can I please have somebody move that we receive agenda item 363, the information report from the Director of Works? Councillor Hanson, seconded Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? Carried 4-0. Due to the confidential nature, discussing a contractual matter, I'd like to recommend to the chamber that we close the council under section 254J of the Local Government Act. Do I have a mover? Councillor Rogers, seconded Councillor Gleeson. Those in favour? 4-0. Carried. Meeting closed. They stay out for this. Yeah. All right, councillors, returning to open session. Now moving to introduce 2 mayoral minutes to ratify a decision that was left on the table for officers' further investigation after the November general meeting of the council.
Sorry, do we have to finish this report first before we move?
No, we can move in a minute, and then because then I can ask the councillors to come back. Yeah. So yes, we are in agenda item 363. There was a closed session to discuss issues around tender availability. We also received the advice regarding confirmation of pricing, as was formally requested by resolution. That advice has been received. I now move mayoral minute, the first of the mayoral minutes for the day. I think we're going to have a record number of them today, but the first of them is just because it's a later agenda, not a late, but a subsequent agenda item, so it wasn't tabled. Although all of this information was tabled and has been in the public domain around the November general meeting, so there's no disclosure interest here. I do also note for the record, councillors Plum and Arthur have got a pre-existing standing declared prescribed conflict of interest in this agenda item and have been out of the room for the discussion and now for the debate and voting on this. So the state of the chamber is there are 4 councillors here, so we are still maintaining a quorum. The resolution is that we accept the flood damage January 2023 package 9 Barcaldine East submission from Michael Horman Transport for the submitted value of $181,706 in accordance with the Local Government Act. Council delegate the CEO to enter into a contract, negotiate and finalise all matters. Michael Horman is, following the officer's advice, the cheapest remaining conforming tender available for council's consideration in this respect. We also note that company's extremely long-standing track record with delivering both council maintenance and QRA funded flood damage, and specifically on those roads that are enclosed in package 9. And do I have a mover? Councillor Gleeson, seconded Councillor Rogers. Is there any debate? There being none, I put it to the vote. Those in favour? 4-0. Mayoral minute number 2. Officer's recommendation that flood damage package 9, the Saltman Creek submission.
10.
Package 10, sorry, the Saltman Creek submission. Figure right.
Is that January 2024?
No, that's package, the event was January
Oh,
23.
yeah, okay.
So the right dollars, would you? 279, that was.
Yeah, just go.
Yep. Sorry, was the wrong column. Okay, that we accept that package for the value of $279,006.76 for the trustee of the Hannay Family Proprietary Limited. We will need to formally record reasonings here. The reasoning is that given the already awarded contracts and the need for this work to, in the four of our councillors' opinion, to appear as concurrently as we can, given that there has been subsequent issues caused on the Saltman Creek Road, which is encompassed in package 10, that is not a claimable event. Council is moving to see that work undertaken as promptly as possible, as we would also like to see the others. So they have selected, we're moving here to select a contractor that is not necessarily the cheapest, but due to the reasons outlined around time. So if we can just make a note there, what's the wording got to be? Council has opted not to choose the cheapest tenderer, the lowest tenderer in this respect, with consideration to already awarded.
No, the reason being is it's concurrent and council's
So we
decided
need to
this.
record that, don't we, when there's a tender that's not the lowest? I think we are required to record that.
The reason you've chosen this is because you want it done because it's emergent as well, damage, and then both tenderers can operate and deliver.
But we need that on the record.
Yep.
In there. Sorry, Dean.
Just a, go expedite delivery.
Yeah, I need some assistance.
Expediting, or probably spelled.
And with recognition of already awarded tenders to other prospective tenderers awarded to other prospective tenderers. It doesn't name them. Yep, that's it. Council is happy with that. No R in expediting.
Expediting.
Remove the R.
There might even be an A actually.
We'll add it up the top there, will you?
It's got the spelling right top.
Councillors happy with that reasoning? Do I have a mover? Councillor Hanson, Councillor Gleeson, those in favour? 4-0. Right. We're up to date with you now, Richard, other than, no, we are completely up to date.
11?
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, but that'll be next month. That's not in this agenda. Right. And you'll move to get that travel awarded.
Moving on then.
Right. Thank you. We can invite our two conflicts of interest councillors back into the room.
Thanks, Richard.
Guys, help on someone upstairs or something.
You should be able to call.
Oh, is your mum?
Your mum's there.
Both grandmas?
Go to the library.
You don't sit in there and watch your head before.
Councillors that have just rejoined, you will note that the very first item on that report you've just received is the matter with which you've had a conflict of interest. But as councillors, you're entitled to receive any and all information. It's only how you choose to use that information. We have Also just undertaken 2 mural minutes to award 2 tenders that were considered in the November meeting. So that discussion happened. I entered into the record online the fact that you had standing prescribed conflict of interest in those agenda items when they were presented. We have subsequently awarded those 2 flood damage packages to 2 contractors that submitted a tender. So they now, that matters from council's perspective is now finalised. All right, so Kerry, on with your report.
Okay, we've covered the QRA flood packages. We've delayed road works on the Alpha Jericho Road because of the weather. In other words, the temperature was above 35 degrees. It's not good engineering practice to lay seal on ground that's that hot. So we've delayed it until early, well, probably the weather cools in 2024, plus there was other road works to be done there after the recent rains. So
Is that the second seal, Kerry, or the first? First seal. So no primer, nothing had been put down?
Nothing. So we're still carrying out road works on grading on Stagmount Road. I've also pulled that up and gone back because they weren't using water when they were grading, it was just dry grading, so that was pointless. And on Stagmount Road, we've got a serious washout on a causeway at Reedy Creek near the Adwan property. Actually, I think Reedy Creek splits the property in half. It's water, flood water out of the lake. It's flowing very, very fast and really hard. But the causeway is washed out on the southern boundary, and we've just costed that job. There'll be emergent works to be awarded next week. Council couldn't get to do the job. We wouldn't get there until the middle of January. I can't keep the road closed.
No.
As you know, it's a major thoroughfare for several properties.
Especially if it rains, because the Black Soil properties to the west of there all use Stagmount Road as the first way they can get into town, around Cabafay and that. So yeah, they've got that choice.
So we'll move on with that fairly significant. It's not too significant. It's only repair work. We won't do full restoration until probably next year. Not obviously next year, we're at the end of this year.
Is by chance it one of the causeways that was scheduled to be replaced anyway? It's not, is it?
No.
No, it's actually was in not bad
There's
condition.
5 other causeways on the southern section of that road, and they're all in pretty ordinary states of condition. Right, so works, ongoing with the town streets. I've only listed here the streets in Mark Horton, but they're still doing town streets in Munnaburra and Aramac, as well as down in Jericho, but it's just minor maintenance. The TMR contract, or up here in RMPC, works are ongoing. There's a lot of emergent works happening following the recent rain, and the TMR inspector and council staff have been out on the same roads taking photographs of the same works that need to be done, which is good because we've been criticised in the past for not having enough photographic evidence. And we've missed out on funding in the past for not having enough evidence. And the last meeting I had with RMPC was $148,000.
Got rejected.
Thereabouts, so we were $128,000 that we've been denied.
Right.
So now we're collecting a lot more data. Moving on into the waste side of the business, as we've expressed or spoken about, we want to close, or we have to close a large landfill site in the new year. It's been discussed last night at the community meeting, as you well know, and we will move across to the waste transfer facility. It's not a simple matter of just having to move across the road. We've got to put staff in place, we've got to put infrastructure in place. You can't expect a person to be out there without a decent water supply, telephone support, etc., etc. So if we do have a bushfire, they need a way of controlling that. We have to grade around the existing landfill, fire breaks. So there's quite a considerable amount of work to be done. All the other landfills in the Shire are very tidy and well managed. But then again, they're not as used as often as the hardcore landfill. We've still got a lot of scrap metal that to be collected. I'm having trouble getting onto a recycling organisation such as Sims. I don't want to travel out this way because of the distances between the different areas where we've got the scrap collected, but I'm pretty sure they will eventually get out this way. As I said last month, we got 3 of our staff fully qualified in Cert 3 water operations. I've identified and spoken with 4 other members of council, outdoor staff, who wish to receive training as water and sewer operators. So that's Muttaburra, Aramac, Jericho and Alpha. So SCADA system's getting better. There's still work to be done, but it's mostly on how long a fault lasts before it alarms. So when it was first put in, it might have only been 2 seconds. It might have been a power flicker or a brownout. All the alarms went off. So that was causing us a lot of problem. So when you program SCADA, you can put in a delay. And it's anywhere between 5 seconds to 5 minutes, depending on the severity of the particular outage. So we've now sorted most of that out with the contractor, and the alarms that were significant, and I know they're significant because I was getting them as well, have decreased considerably. So we're moving forward with that. All our bores are operating well. The only one that's still giving us a little bit of a hiccup is Jericho, but it's getting better as well. We've got significant work to do down there with the way the works have been done in the past is very, I don't know, haphazard. So we've got a lot of money invested in variable speed drives and PLC systems in the bore controllers, and a very insignificant shade shelter on top. Most electronics, if they're military grade electronics, are only rated to 65 degrees C when you start having failures. And we measured only a month ago the temperature of the concrete where these electronic boxes are at 67 degrees C. So, and there's only one little fan and it relies on convection to operate the fan and pass the heat through the cabinet. So if the contractor doesn't come to the party, we'll just put small fans in ourselves. Okay, so in those cabinets, I've got an electrical engineering background as well as a civil engineering background, and I've done it in several places around Australia. It's no big deal, but we have to actually ensure that these things are weatherproof. The little tiny shelters that they put over these things are very insignificant and not weatherproof. And that also means the Acacia Street bore, we need to get that under cover early in the new year. There's been no change with the sewage treatment plant, except we have had one contractor already visit out here, and I've just got noticed on my phone. He's phoned me 4 times in the last 10, 15 minutes. So he hasn't been paid yet for the work they've done, because it's non-compliant work.
That's NCR stuff we showed councillors last meeting.
But the other contractor, who's a major contractor, Water and Carbon Group, we have a meeting, the CEO and I have a meeting with him on Thursday. He's coming out here to visit. We'll walk him around the plant. So hopefully we've got a way forward, moving forward, because we just can't stay as we are. We've got to move forward with what we've got. And I really hope we don't have to deconstruct anything that's already been constructed. I'm willing to take questions from anything that I've discussed there.
Through Mr. Mayor, just the old landfill site that we're fencing, does that include all of the new work that we've done outside the fence, or is it, what part of that are we fencing?
We're fencing the complete,
Yeah, the new,
registered old landfill.
Yeah.
Okay? Because once we commence work on the new site again, it triggers another EPA requirement that you've got to have both sides fenced, the new site and the old site. And it's not just to be security fence, it's got to be what's called blow fencing. So you contain anything that's in the landfill, whether it be in a bin or whether it be on the ground, from blowing out into other areas that are not the registered EPA site.
so where we've done all of the new work at the old dump, outside the fence, is that part of the new dump, or is that outside the dump?
It's outside the registered area.
Yeah, so we're not fencing that, we're only fencing the old dump that's registered.
It's not perfectly in line with where the
Perfectly
fence
in line.
is, it's a bit off, but it's not all that stuff way out into what is actually common.
Yeah.
It's the common, we want to fence the common off from the actual old landfill. And by saying that, we will grade a significant fire break around that area as well.
And what, I'm hoping when we can rebuild the fence around the new dump as well, I've done this vegetation thinning, clearing, that'll allow us to have a better fire break around it as well.
Yes.
Some of our areas are going up, so some heavy timber.
Yeah, we'll get rid of that though.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm currently getting indicative pricing before I go out to market to get a fencing contractor, because we'll have significant work for a fencing contractor on a few sites.
That might actually help council lower its unit cost a little bit if we get it all packaged.
Correct.
My mayor at the minute's actually calling for that exact thing to be done, so Kerry's already working away, we're giving him cover to do that.
So you're going to get lengths of fence.
So, do we have any obligations to do anything toward the rubbish that we've been dumping out on the common in the last 6 to 7 months? What?
Which, we've done all the common stuff that's already there and has been for years.
Well, the new work that we did that's outside the fence, is that on the common?
It's been operating like that for numerous years, so that's not new.
Just have to, which work do you mean? Like we weren't dumping out there, we were bringing fill from out there in to cover the new.
No,
On the new transport station, is that what you
outside the fence, we put all the,
Where we're
what do you
putting
call it?
the green waste and the metals
And
and
the building waste.
Yeah.
And the, yeah, like that, do we bring that back in or?
Where's that sitting in respect with where the fence actually is, Kerry? Where the boundary of the landfill actually is?
It's within the boundary, Mr. Lee.
Yeah.
So that's what I was just asking.
a little left.
Oh, I didn't know what you meant by new
Yeah,
work,
so that-
sorry.
Fence will go around
Yes.
the outside. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's.
Everything that's existing now in
Will
the
be
operational
fenced.
landfill will be fenced.
It's all contaminated and part of our balance sheet is rectification money there. So you'll have to, any other sense.
300,000.
Something like that.
But whether that can be applied for fencing, we're not sure. Dan, still checking whether the contingent liability that we have for landfill restoration actually is for the capping of and,
It'll be more for capital.
yeah,
Yeah, it won't be fantastic.
which I'd be advising we hold off doing as long as possible, once we do the minimum.
We've still got transferring across back and forth until we get into the barrel and use of shot.
Any further questions for Kerry on his report?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The large collection of scrap metal, is it being sold or is it for sale or what's the story?
No, well, it's through you, Mr. Mayor, it's normal for councils to get a scrap dealer in to collect that. And obviously with the large, if we were closer to Emerald, there's a scrap dealer in Emerald. Here, it's a significant cost. So instead of $300 a tonne, it'll be just using an indicative figure, $300 a tonne minus transport cost. So, you get something for it, but not true market value. Yeah. But Sims Metal are, one of the biggest in the area. Veolia do it as well. But the nearest depots for those people are Mackay. So,
Thank you.
Through you, Kirsten.
Sorry?
Through you.
Yeah.
It was brought and spoken of to me last night at the community consultation that the Rural Fires Unit Committee, where the new dump is in their area, and they do not want to take responsibility of the fires if they escape from the new facility to be called upon for that because their unit isn't in existence. So it might be something that we might have to also think about. That sort of area as well.
I mean, there's a bit of a challenge there. I'm the first officer of the Rural Fire Brigade that joins the National Park, and I don't want to accept responsibility for the fire when it gets out of the National Park, but I also don't have any choice. Under the Act, very clear, it's my responsibility whether I like it or not. That's where the boundary is. I can't control anything that happens inside the National Park. I'm not even allowed in there to fight the fire before it gets out. But once it gets out, I have no choice. So we may be able to, what we might be able to do is petition to change the boundaries so that the dump itself is covered by the urban auxiliary. Ultimately, we've got no say over that. It would only be a bit of advocacy, but the reality is the Rural Fire Brigade, if the fire's in their area, they are obligated under the Act to fight it. It's just rules.
Yeah, so I just didn't know whether we...
And I think it's a different fighting it once it's in the dump as opposed to fighting it outside. The real hope is that with the right fencing around it, we're going to completely minimise fire.
With fire breaks on the outside, I imagine, but I'm just saying that there was spoke of it that, yeah, their unit is non-existent, so anything that goes away from the dump, there'll be no one there to, unless you call on someone else.
That's a problem that I'm hoping the appointment of an inspector and a fire support officer to Barcaldine will help bring those brigades that are inactive or not functioning. Because I can tell you from very, very real personal experience, you need as a rural fire brigade to be functioning. They dodged a bullet by not having a fire. We had fires left, right and centre right across the council area for the last 2 months, and crews did extremely well to contain them. But if they're not maintaining their equipment and maintaining it, it's the responsibilities on landowners to participate in that. They should be, instead of worrying about my attendance at a Central West Pest Management meeting group instead of attending a good friend's funeral, a particular officer should be more worried about him doing his job rather than telling council what he's not going to do.
Absolutely. I agree. If the fire's burning towards their boundary, Councillor Plum, I'm sure that they'll do something about it.
Yeah.
They'll scream and bell and roar and eventually get there and do it. But the fact is, that's their moral responsibility and their legal responsibility is to do that. But I will take the auxiliary in town if we can ask for a special arrangement where they assist us to fight the fire inside the confines, because even in a restricted area, fires still happen. You know, green waste, things will still happen. People will break in there. We will never eliminate them 100%. The Rockhampton landfill was on fire 2 days ago. Drenched the whole of North Rockhampton in smoke. Just outside their MRF. So, I mean, anyone who thinks that landfills don't burn is living in a world that doesn't exist.
And that was their worry, was that it would get away and there would be no one to contain it.
Through Mr. Mayor, on that, if the fire's in the landfill, it's contained in the landfill and someone rings O or CEO, who would be directed to fight that fire? Would it really be the Rural Fire Brigade, or would it be...
That's what Councillor Plum said. At the moment, because where the line on the map is east of that highway down to our existing landfill is urban, west is rural. And if we can get the line shifted around the landfill so we can send an urban truck there, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
Still go
so,
fire,
but at the
fire.
moment,
000 is the
if
one
it
who
was
does.
on fire at the moment though,
The rural fire brigade would get the call.
000.
Yep.
What would they do?
They'd ring FireCom and FireCom would ring the rural fire brigade.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like,
That-
it
I
does
should-
make sense to shift that boundary because rural fire brigades are not trained in that type of fire.
Not inside the dump.
No,
No,
not
no,
inside.
no.
You don't want
But,
Protect the
I mean,
grass fires.
outside there.
It has to be their
fine, but,
responsibility.
Yeah,
And I think you'll find that 000 will task all available units, but when it is in a rural fire brigade, they will get tasked as well. So the urban brigades get tasked to fires on roadsides, for example. So it's not that they don't get tasked, but the primary responsibility would rest at the moment. The first officer of that brigade would be directing all resources inside the dump. And I totally agree that inside the dump should be an urban/council responsibility or contractor if we award it to contract. But outside it will always rest with rural fires. Has to.
So they did mention also that their area comes right up to, like Chongilla Avenue in that industrial area. That's where the area comes right up to. So-
Yeah, I mean, that's right, it does, yeah. And welcome to, that's like you go down into places like Rockhampton and Livingston, there's way more closely settled areas down there that are exactly the same, administered by volunteer fire brigades. That's not a unique circumstance anywhere in Queensland. That peri-urban type living is, rural firefighters are the ones that protect them. Okay. How are we going? No more questions? Do you have any more, Councillor Rose?
Nothing.
Okay, we might move to the mayoral minutes prior to lunch. We have another 40 minutes. One of them, have we got the actual documents that I can spread them around? Or is we just, oh, here, sorry. Yep, that one, so we'll start with that one. Councillors, I've already spoken at length about my intent to bring this motion. Keith and his family have been a very substantial contributor. It is dangerous to start and follow this trend, but unfortunately someone broke the mould a long time ago. They have been a family that has contributed substantially not only to public office and life, but to volunteer organisations, to community wellbeing, have spent considerable time, effort and money on improving the community, representing the community at a high level. We talk about our ageing water treatment facilities in Jericho and Alpha. They were two of the only facilities built in Queensland 100% state funded. The old SCAP program was 50-50 or 60-40. Keith managed to negotiate a deal out of the state government at the time that saw those two assets built entirely the state government expense. He was a formidable advocate for his community outside of the time in local government. He also, in that time he implemented the first formal road maintenance program and capital upgrades program for rural roads in the Jericho Shire history, and turned the finances of that council around from deficit budgets and borrowing money to a substantial cash surplus and surplus budget. So he, along with his councillors, administered that council in a way that certainly turned around its fortunes and was a large part of the reason why amalgamation Jericho Shire could hand over such substantial portions of money to the new entity. At a personal level, Keith and Charlene have been involved in volunteer organisations from every type, whether it be the QCWA, the Alpha Show Society, Alpha Radio Association, Jockey Club, the whole lot. His contribution is without peer, and I really believe that that facility named in the Betteridge, not just Keith, but the sacrifice at a local government level that partners and children of community leaders make is substantial, and I think it reflects that, but also the fact that multiple generations of Keith's family, both above and below, have been substantial contributors to the Alpha and Jericho community, but in this case the Alpha community. I think it is a very fitting time. I also think, unfortunately, we choose to honour people in different ways, usually after they are no longer with us, and I think allowing Keith to reflect on his and his family's contribution every time he attends an event at that park is a fitting gesture. It's a low-cost gesture assigned with maximum cost it'll be. We just scroll down to the actual resolution so councillors can see that, please, Tiana. Well, I'm opening for questions or comments. Councillor Gleeson, you've been a part of that community down there for a long time as well.
Mr Mayor, I think that's a good idea. I really do think it's a good idea. Can I just say something that probably I just want you and everybody to realise and to know that I think this is a really, really good idea. I'm 100% behind it. The very first piece of timber that was stuck in the ground at the Alpha Showgrounds was put there by my mum. So at some stage of the game, somebody should do something about that. But I know but this here, 100% Keith Bettridge and his whole family, 100%.
Councillor Rogers, any comments?
I fully support it, Mr Mayor. It's a good idea.
Mr Mayor, I got fully support this. I've known them also for my 30 years being on the Show Society, which they have been a part of. And you couldn't got two people or a family in saying that was so dedicated to their different areas like the Show Society or that they were involved in, and the work that they did with the Show Society was immense. So I fully support this.
Just a question, like how well, I guess, do we capture the information that goes into that, like for our website and for, what would they term, prosperity, sort of like whether it's on our website or like some of that important information as to why it gets named after a certain person or a certain family? Because we've got
We should do it everywhere, shouldn't we?
stands and sheds and stuff that are named after someone or showgrounds here and there that, well, my generation and possibly even the one before have got a tenuous at best connection to why it's named after that person or that
We
family.
almost need a register, don't we? And with a couple of paragraphs or more explaining the connection
The
between
connection
that name.
between,
You know, whether it's John Miller Estate, whether it's Chandler Park, whether it's...
and whether that's a project for a future budget, but yeah, just to maybe put it on there. Yeah.
Community group and pull it on.
The
Yeah,
Steve,
good point.
I think the Steve Hack stand and off at the Ken Wilson
Yeah.
building.
Ken Wilson building, you put it in here, yeah, that's right.
Maybe on that, Mr. Mayor, some sort of plaque be actually attached at each venue as well.
I think if we scroll down again to the resolution, I think that's item 3, to erect appropriate signage recognising the naming of the venue. That's not budgeted for, but the CEO and district manager can bring back a report what that might cost.
We need a plaque explaining.
Oh, at each place, sorry, I
It's like a
understand.
storyboard, the
Just
same.
Yep.
An actual plaque explaining why it's been called that, the reason why, with each venue.
That could be a good thing to do, as a project to consider as a budget thing moving forward. So that will be a separate resolution, but I think that's a good idea. I think we should follow up on those 2 points.
It could be a big plaque. Could be a big plaque with the Bettridges, what I've done.
And it can be as big or as little as but even just a brief synopsis would be better than nothing, you're right. True. Yeah. I'll move that then. Councillor Plum would like to second that. Those in favour? 6-0. Now obviously the minutes gets published. I'm not intending on ringing Keith and telling him that. I'd like to, if it's not a surprise, it's not a surprise, but the next formal event at the Alpha Showgrounds, or now at Bettridge Park, is the ICPA Seven-a-Side Cricket Day, which his family are instrumental in running. And I was intending to have a small ceremony to announce that publicly then. So obviously it's on the record from now, whenever the minutes gets published this week. But if we could see fit to just leave it as it is now, leave public commentary about it, it won't form any part of any media updates until after we announce it. So, Councillor, if you could just stay, I'd like you to declare your interest in item A, but for this, we'll leave the discussion on that until the end. But B, C and D, I don't see any conflict, and I really would value your input, because D, we've touched on here, but it was really topical last night. So I'd just like to, and if necessary, if you're really worried, I'll segment it out and make a separate one for item A if you'd like.
Probably depends on the scope of the maintenance work for the Jericho Common, because if that,
Which will be presented in January, and then you could be declaring it then.
yeah.
So it'll be, okay, so if we just want to start with B here, why I've done this is we see community consultation and then we wait, if it's a big budget item, we wait for 6 or 8 months to come through. There were a couple of things that I considered to be low-hanging fruit or too critically important. Now, I'm aware that officers can probably make these things just happen. However, I think we need to signal to the community that we, the 7 of us, heard what they asked and we've gone and addressed where we can. Now, if I pick on B, there is some damage to the fencing, but also we heard from adjoining landholders they'd really like to see a bit more substantial fire track graded or do a better job. Now, we may or may not be able to do that. There might be some issues. We might have to clear some vegetation, have to look into that. There's also a problem with Hericidia cactus. Now, we don't know what the cost of that is, but I think if we nominate a figure and see whether that is substantial with the scope to be done, we could take the figure out and just direct the scope to come back. But I think if we start to work towards a budget and see what we can get done, then we telling Jericho that we heard your concerns, Jericho rural and town, there's an issue with the common, fencing's got burnt, needs a few posts to replace it, new wires, that sort of stuff. We'll let's go and have a look at what we can do, come back with a scope of works and let's see that approved in January. And the fire plough stuff is probably a more long-running issue that Kerry will address in normal stuff. I mean, it happened quite well here in Aramac and Muttaburra this year. And the air conditioning system, we have no idea what the cost of that is, what the solutions are. But if we can at least have a look at a preliminary options document, and it could scare us or it might not, but once again, we've heard the community of Alpha. They asked us, for those councillors who weren't there, for some substantial upgrades to different elements of the town hall. They all agree that the aircon's not working, that becomes a priority. And for those that were sitting in there that night, I would agree. So just on those 2 points, is there any problem? Any discussion? No. Point D. Now, this really is just, what we're hearing is that the officers are beavering away at getting a solution. The community is saying they're seeing nothing. I'm trying to capture a bit here of a clear what things look like, even if it's not the final plan that Kerry will spend many weeks and months working on. And what I haven't put in there is what I talked about last night, where I really think to truly understand the operational cost of managing a transfer station via just a self-access landfill, we're going to need to operate it for some time to work out whether those costs are something council's prepared to accept moving forward, or whether we move to a full contract service such as a Proterra versus Longreach Regional Council. What I think we need to give effect to is securing that facility. We need to communicate in writing with the public, and Shane's got that letter drafted. We need to get that out there so that they start to get warning of it. Kerry's already indicated that he's got some requests out for indicative pricing, but then we can release the tender for fencing at both places. We've already had a discussion during his report about what that looks like. And then I guess part 5 is the bit that I said last night in the public forum is my personal opinion. I don't think we're quite yet at the state where we can not have access to somewhere to put rubbish. I'm very aware that one bad arson attempt or one bad use of that facility would mean that that right could be revoked very quickly. Probably not even without needing to come to council, the officers will just lock it. But I think as a sign of good gesture of good faith to the community, the vast majority of whom do the right thing, we need to just in the interim say, look, you will always be able to come and put your rubbish somewhere, but you can't go into the landfill. And then if they insist on throwing that goodwill back by doing something to those bins or to the crib hut, or, undertaking activities that are not injurious to good behaviour, well then council always reserves the right to come and be a little bit harsh and say, no, the opening hours are this and this time. But I just think that we need to signal to them, because the fear is a locked transfer. I've heard in the community, like I obviously get the feedback that you all get about it burnt, but I also get the fear from people saying, oh, but we want to be able to take our rubbish after hours or on weekends, so I think we need to be clear in our communication that we're still going to be open to that for the interim period while we work through how the transfer station in our unique circumstance is going to best work. I'm also hoping that by putting this there, that gives the officers a clear step through of how we want, and I'm picking up that they're in that same thought process, but by introducing it in as a formal resolution, and we've had some other resolutions that haven't quite worked in this space. We said we're going to clear it, we're going to lock it, we're going to do this. Well, this starts to bring that to a sharp end because I think everybody, including the CEO, is as frustrated about what's happening out there. So I'll open that to questions or comments. Melinda, I know this has been something you've followed very closely. You got any concerns about anything in that?
No, Mr Mayor, I think it's really a good step to take, and hopefully, we will get on top of the problem.
Councillor Plump?
Oh, yes, Mr Mayor, this needs to be acted on, definitely.
Councillor Arthur?
Agreed, Mr Mayor. I'm still a little bit flummoxed as it's taken that long for us to get the new one up and running, considering when it all started. And I don't think we ever really had a plan on the delivery of it.
I think the last plan stopped when they sort of designed what they built, what I said. And I'm not saying that the plan's not there now, like that there's not someone working on building one, but I think the lead up to right now has been that.
A lot of gaps.
Councillor Hanson?
No, I'm in agreement with that, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Gleeson? Would you like me to segment A out so that you can be on record with any of that? Would you like to be on record? I'm happy that we delete A,
No,
move them now while you're here, and then you go and I move A separately.
No, it's all right. In hindsight, I probably should have just declared it left anyway. But no, I'll declare a
You'll declare it.
conflict of interest
Due to the fact that
due to a close associate of mine is supplier of concrete, in particular item A. Yeah.
potentially be.
Yeah. I'll let you run.
Thank you. Councillors, I think everyone here was at, no, you weren't at Aramac. Look, there's a little situation. I think $5,000 is grossly over. I'm just trying to make sure there's cover so that we don't over the budget. There's a section of the footpath from the gate to the curb, really to the pedestrian crossing that could just be tidied up and provide a nice access to the school. I think it's a low cost but genuinely good gesture to the community. The school's a significant employer. All of the kids go through that gate. I just think it's a no-brainer, Paula, but have you got any local feedback on that? Or concerns from district officers?
No, Mr Mayor.
Kerry, from a workforce, like a actual doing this infrastructure point of view, no problem.
Depends on staff ourselves, we do it ourselves.
Councillors?
Mr Mayor, just a question though, the footpath down in front of the, in the main street where the trip hazard is that an urgent, should that just be?
Yes, I pulled that out of this because I said that's an operational maintenance thing that can be rectified. There's one there and one in Jericho.
Cut down or something.
I'm not sure what the treatment is, but yes, that will be just something that will be undertaken. This is more of a capital nature.
Yeah.
Councillor Plum?
It's fine.
Right, can we have a mover for that then, please? Councillor Rogers, seconded Councillor Hanson, those in favour? 5-0, Councillor Arthur Henry Jordan. Is there no more? No. That's Karen's report. Can I have someone move agenda item 365, Paul's District Report? Councillor Gleeson, seconded Councillor Plum, those in favour? 6-0. Paula?
The TV equipment has been installed, so there's been no issues with that now.
Was there any talk, just after we did that bit of a rundown in the community the other day about what it looks like moving forward?
No, I didn't hear anyone talking, Mr Mayor.
they'll be the last to get switched to anything else now because they've been the most recently installed with an upgrade, I guess.
Prior to the actual meeting, the girls in the office were talking about it actually, and they said none of them actually watch free-to-air TV.
Mm.
So I said to them probably, 5 years, and we probably won't be doing any more maintenance. It'll go to, everyone will just be on satellite.
Stream it
Once the
yourself.
older generation will get out. Yeah, see what happens. The rural aid meeting unfortunately had to be postponed as the creek was impassable. So we're looking at 6th of February for a new meeting there with the community builders. And just out of the QAS desktop for the multi-casualty scenario that I attended along with our senior work supervisor, they asked if we could actually test that SMS system at some point before an actual
Whisper.
scenario happens.
Is that Whisper?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not sure what the community uptake was on the forms that they had to fill out for their emergency contact details, but yeah, they just asked if we could possibly test that.
Overall, next to no one's on
Any questions for Paula?
Yes, oh, well,
Yes, we'll know.
the Whisper is that it's still open for people to subscribe.
Yeah.
I wonder if we should put something out, another media release out about signing up for it.
Put one in.
If we
Months
could just
ago.
have anything on there.
Keep pushing it. And maybe have it prominent on the website.
And also, I just wanted to ask about the small towns meeting, or what's that?
It's the same thing that happened down in Alpha a couple of years ago, the rural aid ones that, they come into the community, do a community plan with a lot of community members, and it's, I was on a teleconference the other day with all the communities in Queensland and New South Wales that they've assisted in. Yeah, it was really quite interesting. Thanks.
There was some pretty good little things ticked off in Alpha, which was well received. Paula, I still haven't had a chance, sorry, to talk to Des, so if you want to do that phone call regarding the stock group management plan, it'd be quicker for you to do it than me to find time and then report back to you what the findings were. Questions for Paula other than those we've heard? No? Can I have somebody please move Jenny's report, agenda item 366? Councillor Gleeson, Councillor Rogers, those in favour, 6-0. Jenny.
Okay, firstly I would just like to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a safe and happy New Year, and I look forward to working with you all again in 2024. Now, I take the report as being read, just a few things. The use for the children to do with their Christmas that was being organised here in the community of Barcaldine. All children received a gift that evening and it was very well received by the families that attended that night. The Rec Park Stage 3, which was discussed last night, that will be being called early in 2024 for the stuff that is under that funding. The other one is the part of the new shoring equipment has arrived. We're just waiting for the lowering framework part to come and then that'll be all complete. And the equipment that we have here will be taken to Aramac for their cemetery. It has just been recently maintained as well, so they've just done a service on that, so it is all operational, working good now. So, Barcaldine Rec Park drainage, following that last storm, and we did discuss this yesterday, I've spoken to the council carpenter about going up there and doing a design about what we can do to at least redirect that drainage that's coming straight off that new roof structure before there is further damage done there. He's going to get back to me with a price, with a design, and we'll work on some pricing for that. The work will be carried out by ourselves. We were there last night hearing the feedback from the master plans for the facilities. So we'll just put something together to go back to the architect for that. Apart from that, I think most other things are going very well. I did attend, along with the executive assistant, a desktop Massa casualty exercise that was organised by the QAS. It was very well conducted. There were multi-agencies and everyone contributed, and I thought it went very well. Now, if there are any questions?
Jenny, questions? So, just with the master planning, we now all have it. Can I suggest to incorporate our feedback as councillors once we have the time over an extended break to digest it, and the feedback that we've already received, plus any more that comes in? Can I suggest that we workshop this at our first workshop, Jenny? Are you back at work then? Or is that the day you start back?
I start back on the Tuesday,
The
which is
general
the
meeting
council
day.
day, yeah.
So what about if we workshop this plan after the general meeting on the 23rd? Because you're all going to be in the festive spirit, we won't talk all day, so we'll be through nice and early. And although actually we might be even having a 2-day meeting if there's a lot of stuff to tidy up. So anyway, let's work on this on the 23rd, and then put it back out, like, put that, our feedback with what we think is relevant from the community back to the master planners to incorporate, and then hope that they can have that back to us February, March. And then, as I said last night, I'm agnostic here, Bill, like we could endorse it for the new council to adopt it, or we can adopt it and put it through and they can, I don't care. I'm agnostic. If councillors are of a mind that they really want that to go up, then I'm happy for it to be up and be formally adopted as a plan of council. If you think it's really relevant, I mean, we've been elected to do the job until we aren't elected to do it, so I'm really happy to adopt it in February or March. But if you think there's anything that could be contentious and you want to wait, well, I'm in your hands as councillors, what you do with it then. Are we happy with that, what we do with this moving forward? Because we can sit here and discuss it ad nauseum today, and then someone writes a letter in a week's time and all of a sudden, oh, that's a good one, you know what I mean? So I think let's take our time to fully digest it. You've only had it for 4 or 5 days. Yeah, any? All right. So I'm missing a couple of pages here. But I think,
Next one, Sarah.
yeah, I don't have a colour note. What is it? What number? 367? Can I have somebody move that we receive the project progress report, agenda item 367? Councillor Rogers, seconded Councillor Henson. Those in favour, 6-0. Dan.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. The report in front of you for the project progress report sees the sale of the Caterpillar loader and the zero-turn mowers were received. The funds from those sales to complete those projects from previous financial year and carry forward plant replacement program. The LRCI 4 projects have also been approved towards the end of November as well, which saw $850,000 come in before the end of the year. In the project's progress from the carry forward projects, we are starting to see a number of those come towards closure, so we are ticking them off as we proceed, particularly in the plant space. It's probably been where there's been the most of late. We've got too many points to discuss there. Just running through the list. Maybe we just take the questions, Mr. Mayor.
Happy to do so. Councillor Arthur.
Mr. Mayor, it's probably just about some of the information that's in there, like expected completion dates and that. We have got some gaps in some of it, and whether that just means we haven't got it planned out across like the 4 quarters or a particular part of the year. And I guess ideally, with some maturity in that area, we would have stuff either attributed to a quarter or across a couple of quarters, or at least an expected start and expected completion dates with a little bit of, I appreciate things change, so there's got to be a little bit of flexibility, but we just, there's quite a few there that haven't got anything against them.
Through the chair, particularly in the carry forwards case where there's no expected start date, a lot of those refer to jobs that commence prior to June 30, because they are carry forward projects. And some of the expected completion dates were the dates that those projects were expecting to be completed by. And I suppose we haven't got a clear understanding of when that now current completion date is going to be. In the capital projects, that has, I believe most of those dates are in some situation. So where the project has commenced, we have dates recorded, and the expected completion dates is the latest advice we've received from those project managers for those particular jobs. Do note that some of them may have passed or are getting close to be passed, and the project's not completed yet. We do need to seek that information, but I think that's what we've included in there. If we use examples such as the Barcall in the, I don't actually know what page of the report is, but it's the first page of the capital projects. The Barcall and Pool Barbecue, that project, we just don't have the dates there because it was quite a small job in the scheme of things. And the district manager, Jenny, has just commenced that work to be completed quite quickly. So,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to ask a question about the town streets. So, when we amended the budget, was some of that going towards the town streets? That money? Just
the Town Streets Capital Program, Councillor, you're referring to?
yeah, well, I just, when I was going through this Beach Street curb and channeling, is complete, but the actual cost of that was 463,000. And then we've got, in our budget this year, we're doing Willow Street curb and channeling, and around about the same distance, and we've only budgeted 350,000, and then Box Street 100,000. Just looking at the cost of that, I'm just wondering whether we will need to amend our budget before it goes ahead.
We didn't actually amend the capital budget, though, did we, the other day? We only did the operational budget.
That's correct,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and Councillor. So Box Street is actually two parts. So there's 100,000 this year, which was funded through TITS, and there was $100,000 carried forward from last year, which is R2R. So,
And so how do we make sure that we don't go over that budget? We just work up until we've used up that 100,000, or?
200. Because we carried
So,
100 forward.
Yeah.
That's a shorter length to what Beach Street was. Beach Street went over because they identified water mains under the ground, so they fixed that while over there.
So it went over by 63,000.
I think
But that amount to the distance of Beach Street and Willow Street is, I think Willow Street might even be longer. But yeah, it's, yeah.
through the chair, talking to the senior work supervisor last week, yes, that was identified that Willow Street is actually a longer section. I believe it starts at First Street, I think, and runs right through to Boree, which is, I think, nearly twice the distance.
Yeah, so that figure could possibly be more like 500,000.
There is some additional funding, unallocated funding in the R2R program that we do need to allocate. So that is possibly, I'll work with the Director of Works to see whether that is the most appropriate application that we recommend.
And we're looking, we didn't touch capital quarterly review, but we do intend to do a capital budget review in January.
Yeah, thank you.
What if we didn't, we do now anyway. No, you didn't, that was always your intention.
Capital is going to be into the January.
Councillor Gleeson? Sorry, Councillor Plum first. You were ready, Councillor Plum. I was only checking whether Councillor Gleeson wanted to speak, sorry.
Oh, just with Box Street, now, it's also TMR, isn't it, that area? So do we just do the actual curve and they do the rest?
We're only doing curb and channeling up.
Isn't TMR involved in this as well?
They've done their work.
They've done their work.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe that January budget review is where we can have a look at some of those dates and that as well. Like
Yes,
special
yeah.
operating, we've got the Jericho Post Office's expected completion the 30th of the 11th. And we've discussed it today, and we all probably knew that it's probably not going to happen.
So we went line by line through where we were unders and overs in the operating budget, which we will do again, but we'll do line by line with capital.
Yeah.
And no doubt some of that will be getting workshopped at the same time as we are for the first time, because officers may have been on leave, but where officers can meet prior to adjust their budgets or expectations, or hopefully there'll be a certain degree of that will be known by that meeting on the 23rd.
Like I said, there will be some projects that we have to rescope once we know about where there'll be overruns or.
And I guess that's the issue with providing more information. There's more information there to update and keep coming. But I think once we start to provide it, we need to make sure it's as accurate as can be.
Okay, further questions? Councillor Hanson, please.
Yeah, no, I agree with Councillor Arthur. I was just looking here at the air scouring of water mains, regional of $100,000, and there's been nothing spent. I thought.
That's because they haven't sent us the invoice yet.
Yeah, right.
Because it's a regionally managed project, so it'll be going through GBA. It'll be one of the ones where we've got to pay everybody. You haven't seen any of that yet, have you?
No.
We can see it through.
But in other words, now completed, so we'll just wait for the invoice part and then get recognised.
It was nice to get a thank you for the water scouring last night. Normally we get not, but
Annoyed, yeah.
yeah, that's actually been the first time I've ever heard anybody say thank you. But there was a noticeable difference in pressure at her house, so that meant there was some blockages in the line that needed to get out of there. To be fair, I will provide two rapid. That was the least complaints I've ever seen from water scouring. Last time here, and particularly here, like it was a race in the regional office as to which street had the dirtiest little jar coming complaining about it. Did any of them turn up at your office, Jenny? A couple of years ago? Yeah, well, we copped them over there. But yeah, so obviously this time may have been too long, Kerry, by the rules from when they could have, should have been done, but the gap must have been better. You know, we're starting to get into a process where we're removing more of the impurities quicker.
Maybe flushing more.
Anyway, it's all good. Just communication next time. From them to us, we hope it's better. Lily's not here, but we'd like someone to move her report, please. Councillor Plum, second. Councillor Hanson. Those in favour? 6-0. I want to, at the very outset, acknowledge that there may have been some little things that can be done to improve the Christmas program that Lily's put together. But can I state that realistically, I think it was a really good thing. I thought she was council. We're all council, but obviously this was a project that Lily had seen through. And last night's community meeting was an uncomfortable meeting for Lily, and I tried as best I could on behalf of council to reassure that, yep, we'll always take a learning out of every program we put together, but by and large, anything that positively promotes businesses within our region is something we should support. And yep, if we can roll out something in each of our 5 towns or those that wish to participate, that's great, but I don't think we should simply hang somebody on the basis of 1 year's efforts in one area. So just was hoping that she was able to be here today on behalf of council. Thank her for the work she's put into that. And we did receive loud and clear from the Barcaldine community last year a request for council to be a little bit more involved in creating some Christmas spirit and helping. And I think we did that. I think council's participation in that space has been first class. we can take some learnings from it. But I'll acknowledge at the outset as well the work and effort that's gone in the other communities. There's a beautiful Christmas tree out the front of the Aramac district office. I recorded my video for Christmas in front of it. The signs and parks and gardens and Christmas lights that members of the public have put up in the other towns. It's easy to commercialise Christmas, but there are children and seniors, I guess, for that matter, but who are from families who may not necessarily be that flushed with spare cash to be able to go away for Christmas, to enjoy the things that others can. And I think if, as a community, we can help break the monotony of some of the year through little celebrations, little community gatherings, supporting other community groups in doing that, it allows us a time to reflect, time to let the kids enjoy the spirit and colour of Christmas for what it is. And I think Lily's really stepped up, and I think all of our council officers have stepped up a lot. This facility, Jenny, looks great. Those blue tier lights all around here, they're a real point of difference, you know. And I couldn't stop thinking of Grinch. I've been forced to watch The Grinch That Stole Christmas with my family every year for 15 years. And unfortunately, I was reminded of that last night. I really genuinely think that there was a lot of good effort, and hopefully we'll sit down and do a learnings exercise from this in the new year about what we do for the Christmas celebrations of 24, but it should never take away from the good work that was done to help celebrate the end of 2023. So I think Lily, whoever Lily answers to, needs to be given a reassurance that we really appreciate the effort that's gone in, and we'll all learn and build from that moving forward. Any questions for any more of Lily's report that Shane or Dan can answer?
Just a question about Australia Day awards. At the moment, it's only Barcaldine is the only town that's mentioned. Are they the only ones they're going to do?
They're the only ones that's put in that I'm aware of.
Oh, no. So the Alpha Jockey Club has put in for celebrations in Alpha.
A few in Aramac to be sent over, I believe.
No, not sorry.
No, this is for the day,
The
like
celebration.
Oh, okay, sorry.
the award ceremony.
Have you got something in mind? Same thing, same
Same
place.
thing, I would say.
Does Marlborough, they've moved it a bit, what do you know what they're thinking?
No, I haven't had a discussion with them.
I think
We done the golf club a couple of years ago, didn't we? For a breakfast. It'll be a breakfast again, I would imagine.
at this point in time, I think Jericho doesn't really, they haven't got enough manpower to do it, so probably they'll go to Alpha. Because there isn't a committee at the moment that
Can we get, Shane, can the DMs and Lily and yourself, I think it's really important that we coordinate that well, so we can just have a brief strategy about what that looks like. Jenny, sorry, it is written here, isn't it? I'm sorry.
Barcaldine's got two.
To Mr Mayor, yes, we
Tourism
have, it has been awarded here, and we've had a meeting with those representatives.
Yep.
In the Bowls Club, so we're on track there.
Okay, and yeah, I think the Jockey Club Alpha, Jericho, it'd be a shame, if Jericho, if you think from your feedback, are happy to combine with that. Otherwise, do we need to just do something very small, like a little thing at the front of the post office, get the tourism, I mean, I don't know, do we?
it's just that they haven't, the committees, from the people that I was talking to, they haven't really got the manpower at the moment for the committees to do Australia Day.
Okay,
They're stretched pretty thin,
Yeah,
aren't
they
they?
wouldn't, I mean, they probably would like to have something in the town, but if there's nothing there, well, we'd go to Alpha. Is the Alpha Jockey Club doing the day?
the full day thing, and it is a good day.
Yeah, it is.
You know, they have games and barbecues and drinks and, sorry,
There are a lot
Dunk the
of
Mayor, yes.
young families from Jericho that like to go that day, but what maybe it might be, we might be better off if we can get a bus for any of the
That's a great idea.
elderly who might want to go to Alpha for the awards. Just
Not
to-
necessarily the elderly, even if just somebody wants to drive
anyone,
down.
Yeah, anyone that can't get there or finds it difficult to get to Alpha.
And Karen, would you be able to then liaise with the Jockey Club and ask them just to brand it the Alpha Jericho Australia Day celebrations, just so that Jericho feel included in that. You know, I don't think that'd be out of order, would it? And yes, Shane, could we organise a bus?
So we've got the one there, one.
And potentially what we may be able to do, if a councillor from Barcaldine end was planning on attending, they may be able to be the bus driver, Karen. So, because I'm aware it's holidays, so, I mean, either a Jericho member might be.
Before as well, so
Sorry.
it's
Yeah.
yada
A Jer- A member of the Jericho community might be quite willing to put their hand up to volunteer and drive the bus backwards and forwards, which is great, but there will be people from here going down, I'm quite sure, so, somebody may be able
So you,
to.
Mr Mayor, if the dump the mayor is going on in Alpha, I would be very interested in driving the bus.
It is happening, it
We
is
might need a bigger bus.
It is happening. We might need to get Greyhound Australia to come down. I was a bit cheeky to the Sangoana boys here at the Catholic Fair, so I'll get my own back there. Although
This, Mr Mayor, on that day, I can actually supply a couple of 44s full of ice if you'd like the water to be cooled down a little bit.
that's inappropriate conduct, warning meeting number 1. But we're going to be called summoned for lunch, right, we should go. Any further for any more on Lily's report?
Well, yeah,
We're coming,
wait,
we're
come
away.
on, yeah, we're coming.
Right, let's wait till after lunch. Meeting adjourned for lunch at 12:34. Bye.